the new 1370 The Buzz. The Buzz.
We're back with The Buzz. I'm your host, Suki. That last song was Shipwreck by Chris Pareca. It was actually a song request by my next caller, spoken word artist Andrea Gibson. Andrea, how are you?
I'm great. How are you doing?
I'm excited that I get to talk to you. But
yeah, me too.
That was a good song. Now, do you know Chris?
I do. She's actually one of my best friends. But when I first started listening to her music, she wasn't. So she is now.
That's good.
Yeah,
I love
and we
that
also
song.
have the same management now at this point. She actually years ago talked her manager into coming to see one of my poetry shows, and that's how I started working with my current manager. And so we've got to do a lot of shows together over the years.
I kind of want to tell you how I found you. You ready for this?
Okay.
Yes,
I am.
Yes, you are. You ready?
Yep.
Okay. I was sifting through the litany of information on my news feed, and I was just looking through random stuff, and then my browser froze because my laptop was dying, and so I grabbed my power cord to plug it in, and when I went back, one of the status updates was a video of your poem Birthday at Cayuga College, so I clicked on it before refreshing my frozen browser, and then proceeded to cry at my desk.
Thank God for frozen computers.
I know.
That's amazing.
It was a good cry.
I cry half the time I'm writing, so that happens sometimes.
Now, how did poetry become like the vehicle for your journey?
Oh man, let's see. I've been writing poetry ever since I can remember. I remember when I was in kindergarten. When you start writing and you're writing with a pencil and you start getting that callus on your finger.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember coming home and telling my mother that my hand was changing shape to prove that I was a writer. I was like 5 years old, and I thought that's what was happening. But everybody but got a count. But I started. I've written poetry throughout my life, and I moved to Colorado in 1999, and discovered the Denver spoken word scene, and just fell in love with the art form, and started writing performance poetry from there, and have been ever since.
I like it. And now I like what you do. You don't just speak, you have a very interesting cadence when you talk, but you also use background noise and or music, which I enjoy. How did that sort of evolve? Because did you always do that?
I haven't always done that. What happened was I was touring so much, and night after night, listening to myself, talk and talk and talk. I needed something to make it, more interesting for me, basically, just more exciting. And so I started incorporating music and with some of my poems. And then now, if I do a show, I would say almost 80% of my show, there's music involved with what I'm doing. But I've been, for about the last 5 or 6 years, just collaborating with different musicians, and it's a lot more fun, especially when there are live performers on stage with me, and to just have other people involved and other artists involved in what you're creating.
Is there a lot of rehearsing? Because it's so, I don't know how to explain it. It's so perfect because when the poem swells, the music swells, and I can't imagine it being anything but a lot of rehearsing.
You know what it is? Sometimes I have so many musician friends that they'll send me a song that they've written that they think will work well with something I'd write, and I will I'll write the poem essentially note by note with the music, and so that's when I think it works the best. And then other times I'll write the poem first, and they'll build the music around the poem. But so it does swell at the right time, hopefully, and it's really fun collaborating.
Cool. Now, how are you using your words to create change?
Well, I think spoken word in general is sort of rooted in a hundred different social justice movements, and just the art form by its essence is speaking to many of those issues. And it was the thing that had me. When I discovered spoken word, I just come out to my family, and I was really angsty, and I was needing to talk a lot about that and to write a lot about that, and it was really a healing experience for me. And then, I just you can get angry about what's going on in the world, and then but you need to channel the anger somewhere. And I think anger is fine as long as it sprouts some movement. And for me, moving it into poetry is the way it feels best for me.
I like it. Now, when you go into a show, do you have hopes of what when the audience reacts? Do you hope that they have any reaction whatsoever, or do you sort of hope for a certain reaction?
I just hope people feel. I have this theory that people's minds aren't changed very easily, but their hearts are. And when people's hearts change, I think they're likely to be motivated into making changes in their lives that make the world a more gentle place. And so I think with art, all of art's hope, I guess, is to reach people's emotional world in their hearts and to shift them. And I hope that I'm touching people. I hope that they're feeling things and not thinking things, or maybe a little bit of both. But I think most of the good stuff in this world comes from what we feel, not what we think.
I like that. Now, before I let you go, if people are interested in hearing more, seeing more, where can they find you online, but also in real life? Because you're on tour right now.
Yeah, I actually just had a show in Denver, which in my home city, and but I'm headed back out for a little bit. I'm going to Oklahoma, which is far away from where you are right now.
Yes,
but then I'm headed to New York in the middle of around the 16th. I'll be in New York City, and then I'm going to be in Michigan. Yeah, just sort of all over the place. Then to Oregon. So I'll be bouncing around quite a bit.
All right. Well, safe travels, and thank you for calling in today.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Take care.
Great day. Bye.
That was Andrea Gibson, and this is Birthday. Now, this is the first. I'm one of those people who will find something and then watch everything from that person or something like that. Like I like something, I go full-fledged and discover it. So this is actually my favorite, and it's funny because it's the first one. This is the one that was on my frozen browser, and after going through all of her stuff, it's actually my favorite, and hopefully you enjoy it too. It's a little different than music, and it's a little different than just poetry. It's something all into itself. So this is Birthday, Andrea Gibson.
At 12 years old, I started bleeding with the moon and beating up boys who dreamed of becoming astronauts. I fought with my knuckles white as stars and left bruises the shape of Salem. There were things we know by heart and things we don't. At 13, my friend Jen tried to teach me how to blow rings of smoke. I'd watch the nicotine rising from her lips like halos, but I could never make dying beautiful. The sky didn't fill with colors the night I convinced myself veins are kite strings you can only cut free. I suppose I love this life. In spite of my clenched fist, I open my palm and my lifelines look like branches from an aspen tree, and there were songbirds perched on the tips of my fingers, and I wonder if Beethoven held his breath the first time his fingers touched the keys, the same way a soldier holds his breath the first time his finger clicks the trigger. We all have different reasons for forgetting to breathe, but let my lungs remember the day my mother took my hand and placed it on her belly and told me the symphony beneath was my baby sister's heartbeat, and I knew life would tremble, like the first tear on a prison guard's hardened cheek, like a prayer on a dying man's lips, like a vet holding a full bottle of whiskey, like an empty gun in a war zone. Just take me. Sometimes the scales themselves weigh far too much. The heaviness of forever balancing blue sky with red blood. We were all born on days when too many people died in terrible ways. But you still have to call it a birthday, y'all. You still have to fall for the prettiest girl on the playground at recess and hope she knows you can hit a baseball further than any boy in the whole 3rd grade. And I've been running for home, to the windpipe of a man who sings while his hands play washboard with a spoon on a street corner in New Orleans, where every boarded up window is still painted with the words, "We're coming back," like a promise to the ocean that we will always keep moving towards the music. The way Basquiat slept in a cardboard box to be closer to the rain. Beauty, catch me on your tongue. Thunder, clap us open. The pupils in our eyes were not born to hide beneath their desks. Tonight, lay me down to rest in the Arizona desert, then wake me to wash the feet of pregnant women who climbed across the border with their bellies aimed towards the sun. I know 1,000 things louder than a soldier's gun. I know the heartbeat of his mother. Don't cover your ears, love. Don't cover your ears, life. There is a boy writing poems in Central Park, and as he writes, he moves, and his bones become the bars of Mandela's jail cell stretching apart. And there are men playing chess in the December cold who can't tell if the breath rising from the board is the opponents of their own. And there's a woman on the stairwell of the subway swearing she can hear Niagara Falls from a rooftop in Brooklyn. And I'm remembering how Niagara Falls is a city overrun with vendors and traffic and strip malls in one incredibly brave river that makes it all worth it, y'all. I know this world is far from perfect. I am not the type to mistake a streetlight for the moon. I know our wounds are deep as the Atlantic, but every ocean has a shoreline, and every shoreline has a tide that is constantly returning to wake the songbirds in our hands, to wake the music in our bones, to place one fearless kiss on the mouth of that brave river that has to run through the center of our hearts to find its way home.